Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to our channel. Pakistan-Zindabad, the next world superpower. All right, so today we are really getting into something big. We're going to give you a shortcut to being well-informed about a blueprint that, honestly, it aims to fundamentally redraw the global map of digital security.
We really are. We're cracking open a particularly ambitious set of documents today. We're sourcing this from episode 27 of the book, The Nuclear Umbrella, written by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir.
Specifically, it's from the Blueprint series, Volume 4, called The Digital Shield, Securing the Unified Muslim Cyber Alliance.
And that title says it all, really.
It does, and this isn't light reading. This is a deep dive into a blueprint for the future of defense, and it's a future that the source defines as, well, entirely digital. The core topic is the Muslim Cyber Defense Alliance, or MCDA.
Exactly. And our mission today is to extract the detailed vision for what's being called the first unified digital shield for the Ummah.
So this is a massive joint capability.
Massive. It's designed to create this comprehensive defense that goes so far beyond simple border security. We're talking about preventing large-scale cyber attacks, countering misinformation, stamping out election interference.
It's blocking digital espionage, and not just for one or two countries, but across 57 member states.
57. The scale is, frankly, staggering.
And, what strikes me right away is just how ambitious this is. I mean, the source material is remarkably clear. It doesn't just describe a defense mechanism, it explicitly positions the MCDA as a force designed to compete with
and, quote, potentially win against.
Right, to win against the major global cyber powers, the West, Israel, China, India, Russia, all of them. This is structurally an assertion of digital parity on the global stage.
And that assertion, it just raises huge questions from the very start. I mean, you have to unpack what it would even take for an alliance of this complexity.
Yeah.
You're spanning diverse technical capabilities, different economies, different political systems.
How do you get that kind of parity?
That's the question. And the urgency in the source material, you can feel it. It constantly reminds us we're not talking about conventional war anymore.
Yeah.
Tanks and troops are not the front line.
No, the front line is everywhere now.
It is. We're talking about the unseen war, the digital battlefield that operates without borders, without distance, and without any time limits. It's instantaneous.
And potentially catastrophic. But that claim, that idea of potentially winning against giants, against nations that have been building these capabilities for decades, it seems highly optimistic, maybe even reckless.
Well, the document argues that the advantage isn't in raw resources. It's in unified coordination and shared targeted intelligence.
Things the other global powers might lack against a cohesive digital front.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is the sheer scale. This blueprint outlines the foundation for what is essentially a Muslim NATO in the digital sphere. The goal is to create the first global Islamic firewall.
So this deep dive is really about mapping the requirements for digital sovereignty.
That's it. For collective digital sovereignty in the 21st century. The document is basically saying that without this unified shield, the whole idea of being a sovereign nation, it's just an illusion. It can be undermined by a single line of malicious code.
And when you look at the battlefields they define here, they're frighteningly personal.
They're everywhere.
Everything we rely on, our phones, our banks, the power grid, airports, governments, our armed forces, and national secrets. Every single part of modern life is now a target in this new era of hybrid warfare.
Okay, let's unpack this. This deep dive is essentially mapping out the requirements for digital sovereignty.
So let's start where the source does. The existential need for this shield. The threat landscape.
Right, because the source material goes to great lengths to establish why this alliance is so necessary. It details the truly destructive potential of modern cyber war.
And these threats, they go way beyond what most of us think of when we hear hacking. A data breach or something. We're talking about national collapse.
Precisely. The document frames cyber war as an existential level threat. It describes the capability to shut down entire countries, to collapse an electricity grid with, a few malicious lines of code.
Or destroy banking systems, cripple hospitals. This isn't just about data. This is about causing mass physical harm and societal breakdown, but through digital means.
We forget that, don't we? That the digital and physical worlds are completely intertwined now.
And it's not limited to civilian targets. The sources really hammer home the military and political objectives.
Absolutely. The ability to hijack a drone mid-flight. Think about that. or steal military secrets that took decades and billions to develop.
Or manipulating a national election, just completely undermining democratic legitimacy from the outside.
It's this blend of kinetic, potential destroying physical things with pure information warfare, which is about destroying trust.
The source also dives into the more insidious part of it, the information war, spreading extremist propaganda, fueling sectarian violence.
The soft underbelly attack. You use digital tools to weaken a country from within. You create chaos, distrust, polarization.
Which then triggers real-world physical conflict.
And you didn't have to fire a single shot. The ultimate conclusion of this section is stark. It says a nation without robust, unified cyber defense is a nation without sovereignty. Period. Any other state can hold its national systems hostage at any time.
To really drive this home, the writer uses some powerful real-world case studies. The big one, of course, is the Stuxnet attack. It's the prime example of digital power causing physical industrial destruction.
Stuxnet is absolutely crucial because it showed the world a whole new level of sophistication. It's still the gold standard for state-sponsored cyberkinetic warfare.
So for anyone who isn't familiar, Stuxnet was this incredibly complex computer worm.
Right, a malicious worm that specifically targeted Iran's nuclear centrifuges. But the key technical detail, the part that's often missed, is that these systems were air-gapped.
And an air-gapped system means it's completely isolated from the public internet, right? Physically disconnected for maximum security.
Exactly. It's supposed to be the ultimate defense. But Stuxnet proved definitively that even those systems were vulnerable. It jumped the air gap.
So how did they even do that?
The speculation is supply chain infiltration. A compromised USB drive, maybe? But the point is, it got in. And it didn't just steal data. The malware caused the centrifuges to spin out of control, physically destroying the hardware.
It crossed a line.
It shattered the line. The source uses this example to hammer home the point that digital attacks are no longer just about information. They are capable of industrial sabotage on a scale that was previously reserved for military bombing campaigns.
And then the focus shifts to ongoing conflicts, the things that necessitate this immediate unified response. The sources specifically mention India targeting Pakistani institutions daily.
And that's a key example. It highlights this relentless, grinding pressure that nations in active geopolitical conflict face. This isn't a one-off event. It's a continuous, low-level war happening in the background every single day.
A war of attrition.
A digital war of attrition. Constant attempts to penetrate government systems, steal strategic information, disrupt daily life. The sheer volume of these attacks drains national resources and demands constant vigilance.
The source also explicitly calls out Israel hacking Muslim financial systems, so that illustrates a different kind of attack vector, right? I don't know.
It's a very specific, economically motivated form of digital espionage. You're targeting regional stability, financial markets across the Ummah. You're hitting everything from oil revenues to trade settlements.
And that kind of financial sabotage is incredibly effective because it's hard to attribute. It just looks like a system failure.
And it causes widespread panic. If a national banking system is crippled, it immediately impacts currency values, international confidence. The MCDA is proposed as the only way to mount a synchronized defense of these high-value targets.
Then you have the information warfront. Western agencies influencing information flows, terror groups recruiting online.
This is the internal erosion of society. When external actors can shape your national conversation, it compromises political legitimacy. When terror groups can recruit online, they bypass all traditional barriers and radicalize youth at an incredible speed.
And propaganda, deep fakes, fueling sectarian strife.
It means your adversaries can destabilize your nation from within. The alliance is seen as necessary because the threats are coming from everywhere at once. Kinetic, economic, political, and social warfare, all happening simultaneously.
Which brings us to the uncomfortable truth that the source material lays out, the current fragmentation and vulnerability of the Muslim world in cyberspace.
Right. Why is a unified defense not just a good idea, but absolutely critical right now? The scale of the vulnerability is the core issue.
57 Muslim countries.
57 countries with, and this is the key statistic, 0 joint cyber defense. Nothing.
So they're fighting the most modern, interconnected war of our time.
With 57 separate, isolated armies, often with mismatched digital systems and outdated, incompatible firewalls. It's a logistical and legal nightmare before you even get to the technical side.
And what are those primary technical vulnerabilities?
The biggest one is the absence of a shared threat database. Let's define a crucial term here, a zero-day exploit.
Okay.
A zero-day is a vulnerability in software or hardware that is unknown to the vendor. There's no patch, no defense for it yet. So if, say, Turkey detects a catastrophic zero-day attack,
That knowledge doesn't automatically get shared with the other 56 nations.
exactly, and that failure to share knowledge instantly turns an individual weakness into a collective, catastrophic vulnerability for everyone else.
The list of governance vulnerabilities is just as bad.
It really is. Weak or commercial encryption standards, which are easy for state-level adversaries to break. A lack of a unified AI security strategy, which is terrifying as AI gets integrated into critical infrastructure.
And no unified cyber legislation, so it's hard to prosecute digital crime.
You create safe havens for attackers. But the biggest geopolitical risk detailed here is the dependency on Western tech companies.
So reliance on foreign operating systems, cloud services, hardware.
It's a Trojan horse. If your core infrastructure, your communications, your intelligence platforms all rely on external powers who may be your strategic rivals, then you've given them the keys. They have the potential for backdoors, espionage, strategic leverage.
So this fragmentation isn't just a military threat. It's a threat to national ID systems, to the integrity of governance, to the youth, to information itself.
The core message is clear. They cannot afford to fight the digital war alone. They have to modernize together to achieve digital self-reliance.
Okay, so if that's the problem, fragmentation and vulnerability, the solution, as mapped out in Part 3 of the source, is this highly structured 5-pillar Muslim cyber defense alliance.
Correct. The MCDA blueprint is designed to address all of those weaknesses at the same time. It's structured to cover strategic command, intelligence, infrastructure, information warfare, and critically, the future with AI.
What's fascinating here is how comprehensive it is.
It's a full-spectrum digital defense system. It's designed to operate from the highest strategic level right down to the individual citizen's device.
Let's break it down. Pillar 1, the Muslim Cyber Command, or MCC. The source designates its headquarters in Islamabad. This is the brain of the operation.
It's the central nervous system, and the location in Islamabad is highly strategic. It positions Pakistan, a nation with nuclear deterrence and high threat exposure, right at the center of the digital defense.
And its role is huge.
Massive. Defining joint cyber war strategy, coordinating threat response across all member states, using shared AI-based detection, network protection, joint military cyber ops, and crisis coordination during a major attack.
The challenge of command and interoperability there must be immense. You're asking 57 different militaries and government agencies speaking dozens of languages with totally different levels of technical training to follow a single strategic command.
That's the critical functional hurdle. The source material acknowledges this by emphasizing the need for standardized operational procedures and advanced mandatory unified encryption systems.
So everyone is on the same secure page.
Exactly. And the command structure also has to solve the legal problem. Who has the authority to deploy foreign assets inside a sovereign network? The MCC has to establish the legal precedent for collective self-defense in cyberspace.
The source is also very explicit about why Pakistan is designated to lead this pillar.
Yes, it cites 4 key rationales. First, its proven cyber capability and the maturity of its military cyber units. Second, its strong military-grade encryption systems.
Which are essential for secure communication.
Essential. Third, the existence of active, seasoned counter-hacking units. And maybe most importantly, the source highlights Pakistan's unique, continuous, and high-intensity experience fighting sophisticated state-sponsored cyber attacks from India daily.
So that constant battlefield experience makes it the logical, hardened choice to lead?
That's the argument. Now, moving to Pillar 2, we have the Cyber Intelligence Grid, or CIG. This is the early warning system.
This is where they turn individual data points into collective foresight.
It's the fusion center, and its success hinges entirely on trust and security. The CIG brings together the top cyber intelligence arms of key members: Pakistan's ISI Cyber Division, Turkey's MIT Cyber Unit, Malaysia's Cyber Command, the UAE's Digital Defense Unit, Saudi Digital Intelligence, and Indonesia's AI Security Division.
So you're pulling the best of the best.
That's the idea, to overcome that critical fragmentation we talked about earlier.
So what are the practical outputs? How does this actually protect a, say, smaller member state?
The CIG provides several critical immediate outputs. First, shared threat intel. All 57 nations get real-time alerts about vulnerabilities, patches, and known attackers.
So no more zero-day surprises.
Well, fewer surprises. Second, real-time hacker tracking, so you can have persistent surveillance on major adversarial groups. Third, and this is key, AI-driven predictive alerts.
So using machine learning to anticipate where the next attack will come from.
Exactly, allowing you to harden defenses before you get hit. And finally, regional deepfake detection systems. This standardizes the level of intelligence available to everyone, elevating the defense of the least protected nations.
Pillar 3 shifts from intelligence to immediate protection. The Digital Infrastructure Protection Force, or DIPF. This is the operational deployment arm.
The DIPF is the Digital Rapid Deployment Force. They are dedicated to protecting critical civilian and military infrastructure, the prime targets for kinetic cyber warfare.
And the list of targets is comprehensive. Banking networks, power grids, national data centers, military communications, airports, airlines, financial markets.
Oil and gas infrastructure. A successful attack on any one of these could cripple a nation.
The commitment outlined here is staggering. The source says a cyber attack on any Muslim country triggers DIPF deployment in minutes.
I mean, we need to talk about that timeline. That commitment is the digital equivalent of a NATO Article 5 collective defense treaty. But that minutes timeline? You're right to question it. It's almost impossible.
So what does it really mean?
It can't mean physical travel. It has to mean three things. First, permanent digital access agreements, allowing experts from one nation to legally and instantly access the network of another.
The legal framework we mentioned.
Absolutely. Second, pre-positioned, standardized, and highly secure remote access infrastructure. And third, rapidly deployable digital defense toolkits accessible to everyone immediately. It's a logistical nightmare that relies on absolute standardization and, frankly, unparalleled levels of political trust.
Pillar 4, the Social Media and Information Warfare Division, or IWD. This acknowledges that not all wars are fought with code, some are fought with narrative.
This division understands that the war for hearts and minds is just as critical as protecting the power grid. The missions of the IWD are highly political and cultural.
Things like countering extremist propaganda.
Stopping the insidious effects of Islamophobia across global platforms, shutting down anti-Muslim campaigns, and combating deepfakes and fake news designed to create panic or distrust.
They also manage digital influence operations and protect elections from foreign interference, which has become a primary attack vector for state actors everywhere.
Right. The IWD is tasked with ensuring sovereign processes like elections aren't compromised. The source specifies that Turkey and Pakistan will lead the advanced disinformation detection efforts, given their experience. This division acts as the collective truth and narrative defense system.
And finally, Pillar 5, the Joint AI Security Network, or JASN. This is the most forward-thinking part of the blueprint, acknowledging that future wars will be AI wars.
This is all about future-proofing the alliance. It recognizes that the next generation of warfare will involve AI-controlled weapons, drones, robotics, autonomous systems. The JASN's protection scope covers everything from smart cities and facial recognition systems to automated border surveillance.
Systems that, if compromised, could lead to catastrophic failure.
Or enemy control. Their goal isn't just to secure existing systems, but to build proprietary secure AI from the ground up.
But the truly unique element here, and we have to explore this, is the ethical component. The source says Muslim scientists will be tasked with developing halal AI ethics and Islamic AI governance. This is more than a technical project.
It's a civilizational project. Absolutely. If you connect this to the bigger picture, this is about asserting not just technological sovereignty, but ethical sovereignty in the development of AI.
What does that mean, though?
The writers recognize that Western and Chinese AI development often lacks robust ethical guardrails tied to specific value systems. Defining halal AI ethics means establishing moral and legal frameworks aligned with Islamic principles before these systems are deployed in sensitive areas like warfare or surveillance.
So what might that look like in practice for, say, an autonomous weapon?
For an autonomous weapon, halal AI ethics would likely mandate strict rules of engagement that prioritize avoiding non-combatant casualties. Maybe it requires a higher threshold for human override or explicit constraints on indiscriminate targeting, drawing from Islamic laws of war.
And for surveillance, facial recognition.
The framework would likely focus heavily on privacy, data protection, and accountability. It would ensure that technology designed to protect the Ummah doesn't infringe on the dignity and rights of individuals without absolute legal and moral justification. It's an attempt to ensure that technology respects the civilization's values.
That significantly complicates development, but it also gives the alliance a unique selling point. Secure tech rooted in a defined moral code.
Indeed, It asserts that the future of technology must be guided by values, not just capability. It creates a unified philosophical and technical barrier against compromise.
So now that we have the entire structure, command, intelligence, the ethical framework, let's look at the action forces, the Cyber Rapid Reaction Teams, or CRRTs, the sharp end of the digital spear.
The CRRTs are the fire brigade of the MCDA. They're the immediate operational asset, made up of highly trained units from Pakistan, Turkey, Malaysia, the UAE, and Indonesia.
Yeah.
The nation's identified as having mature cyber defense forces.
Okay, but I have to go back to that critical speed metric. The source emphasizes a response time of 30 minutes. 30 minutes to a major incident, that still feels almost impossible for a multinational deployment.
It necessitates constant readiness and pre-authorization. 30 minutes is the difference between a minor incident and a national disaster. If a ransomware attack hits a power grid, every minute the system is down translates to millions in lost revenue and public panic.
But how do they get there? Is the source suggesting specialists from Turkey are somehow accessing a network in Africa within that window?
That's the only plausible interpretation. The diplomatic and technical groundwork has to be laid in advance. The moment the MCC authorizes deployment, the CRRTs must have secure, high-speed, legally sanctioned remote access to the affected network.
Which requires that incredible level of trust we talked about. Giving another country's experts the keys to your national power grid during a crisis.
That is the absolute linchpin. The technology is one thing, the political trust and the pre-authorized legal frameworks. That's the real mountain to climb.
And linking this back to the ordinary person, the success of these teams is directly tied to civilian safety. This shows the human side of this digital war.
Absolutely. Think about the social chaos a major cyber attack can cause. The CRT speed is essential for preventing catastrophic civilian consequences, preventing blackouts, ensuring banks stay open, keeping ATMs from freezing, avoiding airport shutdowns, stopping massive data leaks. They are the tactical assurance that the infrastructure we rely on daily stays secure.
And that transitions perfectly into Part 5 of the blueprint, digital defense for the ordinary Muslim. We've talked about geopolitics, but now it's about individual security.
This section is crucial because it answers the so what question for the average person. This alliance isn't just about protecting military servers. It's about providing a safe digital ecosystem for 2 billion people.
The vision here is to create a zone of digital safety that extends into daily life.
Yes, the document details this civilizational protection, safeguarding children from extremist content and online radicalization, protecting families from digital scams and financial fraud,
Shielding youth from foreign propaganda aimed at political subversion.
securing businesses from hacking and intellectual property theft, and protecting governments from manipulation. It's a holistic view of national and cultural resilience.
So the MCDA acts as a unified filter and guardian.
That's right. Stabilizing the digital domain and purifying the information space, which is a function of the IWD, helps stabilize society itself against external pressures and internal disruption.
To make this blueprint truly tangible, the source material then walks us through 5 specific high-intensity crisis scenarios. This is where we see how the 5 pillars and the CRRTs would interact under fire.
These scenarios are the proof of concept. They move from military conflict to economic espionage and then to information warfare, showing the full spectrum of the proposed defense.
Let's start with scenario 1. India launches a massive cyber attack on Pakistan, a direct, high-intensity conflict.
In this hypothetical, the MCDA engages on multiple fronts instantly. The MCC, in Islamabad, acts as the central coordinator, blocking the initial attack waves. Simultaneously, the CIG is active, sharing real-time defensive protocols and tracking the attack back to its source.
And the alliance commitment kicks in.
Immediately. The source highlights that Turkey and Malaysia provide support. This probably means deploying CRRT specialists remotely to Pakistan's networks and providing high-level technical resources. Then, the ISI cyber wing counters with controlled precision, a measured, targeted counterattack executed under the MCC's command.
It demonstrates a unified response capability.
Exactly. Scenario 2 shifts to economic espionage. Israel infiltrates Gulf banking systems.
So this activates Pillar 3, the Digital Infrastructure Protection Force, in a very sensitive financial context.
Right. The threat here is financial sabotage. The response requires specialized skills. So you see a convergence of teams. Saudi digital intelligence, the UAE's defense capabilities, and Pakistan's top-tier cybercast groups. They form an immediate multinational defense wall.
This shows that an attack on the economic heart of the Gulf is treated as an attack on the economic stability of the entire Ummah.
It has to be. The coordination ensures that countermeasures are deployed across all connected financial systems at the same time, neutralizing the threat before a bank run or economic panic can start.
Scenario 3 broadens the scope. A terrorist group hacks an African Muslim ministry. This tests the alliance's commitment to smaller member states.
A very important test case. When a ministry is hacked, a joint task force is deployed. The response is multi-layered. The CRRTs are deployed to restore the network. That's the technical recovery.
But there's more to it.
Yes. They also work with local intelligence agencies, using tracking data from the CIG to identify and arrest the culprits. So it combines digital recovery with real-world law enforcement.
Now for pure information warfare. Scenario 4. Deepfake videos spark sectarian riots. This is about destabilizing society with manufactured reality.
This immediately engages Pillar 4, the Information Warfare Division, and speed is everything here. First, the digital forensics team, drawing on Pakistani and Turkish expertise, is activated to quickly verify the content is fake,
They have to be certain.
beyond a reasonable doubt. Then the social media war room mobilizes to suppress the spread across all platforms, cutting off the oxygen supply to the propaganda before physical riots can escalate.
And finally, Scenario 5. A Western disinformation campaign during Muslim elections. An attack on democratic legitimacy.
This activates the political defense mechanisms of the IWD. The Joint Influence Defense System is activated to maintain truth and information integrity. This involves sophisticated monitoring, rapid factual correction, and public communication campaigns to neutralize the external influence.
If we connect all this to the bigger picture, these 5 scenarios show the MCDA acting as both a shield and a surgical instrument.
Exactly. It's designed to be a full-spectrum digital security provider, capable of defensive and offensive digital action across military, economic, and social domains. The goal is complete digital autonomy.
As we conclude our deep dive into this extraordinary blueprint, let's circle back and summarize the ultimate goals here. This is designed to deliver complete digital sovereignty for the Ummah.
A sovereignty that the writers argue has to manifest in tangible ways. Youth who are digitally protected, governments that are digitally secure, and militaries that are digitally invincible.
The achievement, according to the writer, comes down to 2 key outcomes. First, the collective infrastructure becomes so hardened that enemies can't infiltrate core systems.
And second, the information sphere becomes purified, protected from deepfakes, propaganda, and external disinformation.
This is the bold vision laid out, the digital shield of Muslim NATO, transforming a fragmented digital landscape into a unified, proactive defense superpower.
And that transformation, as we've explored, relies so heavily on that final pillar, the Joint AI Security Network and the development of Islamic AI governance.
Those halal AI ethics.
That ethical framework, tied to specific civilizational or religious values, is presented as the distinguishing feature in the global race for AI superiority. And it leaves you with a profound question.
We talked about how it might apply to autonomous systems, mandating constraints on targeting, or imposing higher privacy standards on surveillance. The technology will be built not just for speed and power, but for alignment with a specific moral code.
And that is the essential question this blueprint poses for the future. When global AI warfare inevitably escalates, the defining characteristic might not be the algorithm's speed, but the values embedded within the code itself.
Will that value-driven approach provide the resilience and moral authority that the source writers claim will allow them to achieve true digital parity?
Or could it also be a weakness, if your adversary has no such constraints?
A profound thought on the intersection of faith, technology, and global power to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the blueprint for a unified digital defense.
Always a pleasure. We hope this is giving you a deeper understanding of the next chapter of global defense strategy and what it takes to build a cohesive digital shield.